All right, good morning, everyone. Let's call to order our Board of Franklin County Commissioners meeting for Wednesday, April 14th.
Commissioner Stottlemyre.
Present.
Commissioner Harris.
Present.
Chair Waymeyer.
Present.
Vice Chair Dickinson.
Present.
Commissioner Dunn.
Present.
Now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our invocation today will be led by Pastor James Calloway of the First Baptist Church in Ottawa.
Let us pray. Almighty God, creator of every good and perfect gift that is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. We're here for the Franklin County Commissioners meeting. We ask that you bless all of the commissioners, their family, the staff, and all county workers. In our COVID-19 world, please extend your mercy to our city, Ottawa, our county, Franklin, our state, Kansas, and the United States of America. We are meeting today to conduct matters of business, guide hearts and minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon the activities so that all of the affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you, Pastor. Any correspondence? All right, public comment?
No public comment.
Our consent agenda today would include meeting minutes from April 7th and tax change orders in the amount of $89.16. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Commissioner Stottlemyre.
Yes.
Commissioner Harris.
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer.
Yes. Now to items of business. The sole item of business today is to consider appointing and swearing in a new member to the Planning Commission. Larry Wallot, our Planning and Zoning Director, is here. Morning, Larry.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Good to be back to visit with you this morning. You recall last month you did accept the resignation of one of the planning commissioners that had served for a number of years, Don Barkley. He was from the Pomona area. And subsequent to that time, we have had a couple of people that have submitted their names for this position. However, staff feels that we do have a very competent party in mind and have made that recommendation to you that you accept Brandon Livingston. I'd like to introduce him here this morning. He's present. I think you have a letter giving his background, but he's here to put a name and a face together for those that you don't know him, and also to answer any questions that you may have. We would ask for a motion that you appoint Mr. Livingston to the vacant position of on the Planning Commission.
All right.
Morning,
Morning, Brandon. Appreciate you coming in today.
Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you. I want to thank you all for your service, and I apologize for I didn't know if I should go around and glad hand, obviously, with the environment that we're in today, but I know I've met many of you, and Rod, done a lot of things together over when I was at the Fair Board and things, and so anyway, I really thank you for the opportunity to be considered for this position. It's something that means a lot to me. As you know from my letter, I was actually selected as an out-of-town member and did 2 terms on the city's planning commission. And so I gained a lot of knowledge and such in that regard. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to be a part of Franklin County. I'm pretty emphatic about that. Growing up, you know, we always made trips down here. And then in the middle 90s, my parents bought a place over by Lay Loop that eventually became my brother's first place. And so we call Franklin County home. both my parents are buried here now, so. Anyway, sorry. Lost my mom last summer, and so, anyway, but, no, Franklin County is our home, so we appreciate the opportunity to be here, and thank you for your consideration. If you have any particular questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Anything that wasn't covered in the letter, anybody?
I just like to commend him on his letter and have myself serving on the planning board, Franklin County Planning Board a couple times. It is, if you come back to a planning board, you know you enjoyed it the first time because you wouldn't be coming back the second time. And so I appreciate that and a lot of the things you can bring to that board. I know Larry looks for diversity on that board, and I know one other gentleman on there that has a lot of the same type of background as you do, and I think he'll fit very well.
Well, Brandon's no stranger to us. You've been in the community a long time as business owner and a resident, and you're very well qualified, so.
Appreciate that.
I talked to you, I like the idea that you also lived in some larger towns, so that you kind of had an idea that, you know, we're kind of moving that direction. I mean, we're not going to be as big as Kansas City, but we are more and more becoming a part of that area, so.
Yeah.
well,
And I lived,
well,
actually, one of my residences for about 6 years was DeSoto County, Mississippi, which is just south of Memphis, so it'd be kind of like Franklin County is to Kansas City. It was one of the fastest growing counties in the United States for a number of years, probably still is. And so I got to see a lot of that transition and be a part of that. Obviously, growing up north of Gardner, I was part of that fabric for many years. I'm aware, you know, back when NASCAR was turned down and all of the changes and the choices that were made, some good, some bad, some indifferent. And so, you know, I understand, and I think I've got hopefully a logical approach to things to consideration. It's exciting. We've got this main artery, I-35, coming right down through here. And so there's no secret that obviously we're going to have a lot of people. I mean, I can't tell you how many people that I know are transplanting from that area down here. Many of them being displaced or bought out by the intermodal development and things. So, you know, and obviously we have an interest in making this our home community, but also we don't want to stifle growth, in my opinion. So.
All right. Well, thank you. Who would like to make a motion to appoint Brandon
I'll
Livingston?
make that motion for approval.
All right.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, we gotta swear him in.
Oh, yes.
Swear him in.
That's right.
We have a meeting tomorrow night, and we need to.
I mean, it's legal, huh?
If you raise your right hand. I, Brandon Livingston,
I, Brandon Livingston,
do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm
do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge my duties
and faithfully discharge my duties
to the best of my abilities
to the best of my abilities
as a member of the Franklin County Planning Commission.
as a member of the Franklin County Planning Commission.
And I do this under penalties of perjury.
And I do this under penalties of perjury.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Very good. Thanks again.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
See you tomorrow night.
Yep, see you tomorrow night. Thank you.
6:30.
6:30, I'll be right here.
Right here.
Great.
We do have two more positions coming up later this fall. We have two other commissioners that have served out their maximum terms. And one of the candidates that Don just mentioned has agreed to take one of those positions, so we'll still be looking for one additional position.
All right.
I thank you, commissioners.
Thanks.
Thank you, Larry.
Staff reports.
Yeah, thanks, Colt. We've come a long way on the Planning Commission, just in terms of interest. As Larry said, we had two very good candidates this time, and the other candidate has agreed that he will step in and take one of those vacancies here that's coming up this fall. So, but we went from really having to scrounge hard to find interest to now having multiple pretty qualified candidates. So was just in front of the Planning Commission here a couple weeks ago, and they're a good commission. They do a nice job. And so really happy with where we've gotten at this point. I continue to have a lot of discussions with my staff about the 2022 budget. As I've indicated to all of you, Sari has worked with all of them on their personnel numbers, which is really a huge part of the budget. So I have been having conversations with each of them. Haven't met with all of my department heads by any means, but several of them who have had certain requests that may be out of the ordinary, and so just know that that's happening. Janet has prepared a budget calendar, and we will get it to you here. I may even send you a draft this week, but as I've indicated, your involvement won't really begin until the summer, but certainly we'll get that budget calendar in front of you. I know when we do those study sessions, it's a good day and a half, so I want all of you to have ample notice because that's kind of in vacation season. And so we got an email yesterday from the governor's office. I don't know that it told us anything we didn't already know, but about the American Rescue Plan. So this is Biden's stimulus package. It did, I think, help solidify some of the details. For our purposes, most importantly, these funds are meant to cover costs incurred before December 31st of 2024. And so whereas with the CARES Act, I mean, it was a race just to try to get that money spent. This, thankfully, we will be able to take a much more deliberate approach. And so I think what expenses are truly eligible is going to get so much more fleshed out over the coming months and year. But right now, obviously, COVID-related expenses are going to be eligible. And then I think for our purposes, another interesting one is broadband is one that expressly gets held out as something that is eligible. I know that some of you have mentioned roads. That is still unclear. We think that Biden's going to have another stimulus package related to infrastructure, and if that's the case, then that would be a slam dunk. But this particular plan, I don't know. I mean, I've seen nothing yet that expressly indicates road and bridge related expenses would be eligible, but broadband is an interesting one. And so there's several criteria. We will continue to monitor it closely. The projections that we have seen are in the ballpark of $5 million again, and it's still unclear, at least to me, and Janet, feel free to chime in if you've heard something different, but whereas the first time with the CARES Act, we received money and we were asked to distribute it to cities and to school districts. What has kind of been said is that cities are going to get their own direct allocations, but that's still, I have not seen that put in any of the literature that I've seen, but that is just when people discuss it, that's what they say. So that's one of the things we'll continue to monitor closely. And just know I am trying to keep us way out ahead of this. I mean, obviously, we're under no time constraints, but just as I get more info, I want to pass it along to you because that's something that it's more stressful than you realize. And we learn that with the CARES Act. People think, well, hey, getting $5 million, that's great. Well, you realize this is unique to this period in time. And you want to make sure that you really use it well because how often is it going to happen? And so, but you might give it to the extent you can do your own research. you might start giving some thought to what would you like to see with that money. And as I get more info about the requirements, and I'll definitely pass that on. We got a pretty thorough, one of the organizations that I belong to sent out a pretty thorough email yesterday, kind of a recap of where we're at with the legislature. And there is still discussion seemingly happening about retroactively forgiving property taxes for businesses that were affected during the pandemic. I don't know that, I don't think, based on what I am seeing, I don't think that it's something that is going to end up becoming law, at least at this juncture. But those discussions are still being had. And certainly these are things that I tell my staff when we talk, like, this is why we need to approach 2022 cautiously. I mean, I think we're all cautiously optimistic about where we're at with the pandemic. But we don't know yet what the legislature is going to do, and who knows what we could potentially be on the hook for, depending on what kind of law passes. And so it's just something that, I know Janet and I both have been pushing to be really conservative in 22, and some of that is the new truth in taxation bill and us not fully understanding yet what that is going to impose. But also, it's other potential legislation. It's the pandemic not being fully over. And so just keep that in mind. And then finally, on Monday, we're going to have a study session, and we're going to discuss the Historical Society and the location of it and whether or not they're in the best location. And I want to say this publicly. Most projects that we do, I mean, to a certain extent, are staff-driven. I mean, it's done with feedback from the commissioners, obviously. We prepare a recommended budget for you based on feedback you've given. I think back to some of the other projects, the radio tower project. Staff identified a problem, came to all of you with recommendations on how to fix that, took the input that you had. This project with the Historical Society is a little bit different in that this is very much a Board of County Commissioners driven project. You all asked me to look into this, and so just know that on Monday, the board is really going to have to drive that discussion. I have done some background work on what some potential options may be, depending on how the discussion goes, but we may or may not even discuss that depending on what the five of you have to say about it. And so know that we often come into these meetings, and obviously staff kind of leads the discussion because we have recommendations. I don't, and I don't anticipate making recommendations because this is really kind of a policy thing that falls outside of the normal scope of what my staff and I would do. This is a board-driven project, and so the five of you might keep that in mind when we come in here. I'll try to ask questions to pull information out of you, but I just want your minds to be right coming into this because the dynamic will be a little bit different. And so, unless you have any questions about any of that, I'm happy to turn it over to Casey.
Just say, of course, it is our facilities tour during our study session a few weeks ago that kind of was the precipice for you bringing this information and having the discussion Monday about the Historical Society, because they're currently located in a building that we're kind of all, I think the consensus is at its end of its life, the old nursing home there, and what to do with the people and, the Historical Society who occupies that building, and then some of the storage, which is maybe a little simpler, but so that's the precipice. It's you were asked to do that, so by us. So
Absolutely.
Eric, on that discussion, are we inviting the other parties in to be part of it?
Yeah, the executive director of the Historical Society will be in, and I believe she's bringing one of her board members. And I've told her over and over that the purpose of this is just to have an initial discussion and just see where they're at, see what their thoughts are. And again, depending on where it goes, we may or may not discuss some options. I think it kind of just depends on the feedback we get from them and where the five of you take it. But yeah, they intend to be here on Monday.
How about the visitor center people?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, Casey is the visitor center person at this point, and she'll be here. So, I mean, that's really who would. So,
All right, Casey.
all right, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. So we have administered 9,640 total doses from the Health Department. Obviously, this is still not inclusive of all of Franklin County entities that are administering vaccine doses. 5,490 of those are first doses, 3,850 of those are second doses, and we have administered 300 Johnson & Johnson vaccines. So the Health Department itself has completely vaccinated 4,150 people in the community. We have made our way through the entire opt-in list. So I know that there was still people on the schedule today from the opt-in list, and I believe there's a few on the list tomorrow that are scheduled. But if anybody in the community wants to call the health department and get an appointment, they can call in the 229-3530 number and get an appointment probably today, if not tomorrow for sure. I believe we were supposed to, or we had allocated 120 doses for yesterday, first doses, and only administered 100 of those because we didn't have a full schedule. So there's openings for people to get the vaccine right away. I know that Nick is going to hopefully talk to you about administering from the trailer. He and Tom Winter have a plan of how we can start administering in more of a drive-through fashion and reutilize our testing trailer to administer vaccines. And then I just quickly wanted to touch on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because, as most of you probably saw yesterday, we were told to pause on giving that vaccine. So just so you have the raw data, there has been more than 6.8 million doses of Johnson & Johnson given, and they are reviewing 6 cases that reported very rare and severe type of blood clots that are all 6 are women between the ages of 18 and 48, and their symptoms occurred between 6 to 13 days after getting the vaccine. So 6 out of 6.8 million is a tiny number, but it's great that our FDA and CDC is actually taking the time to investigate that further to make sure that it's not an issue moving forward. So does anybody have any questions for me?
At what point does the county just say, we're not administering any more shots because they're available other places and we can put our,
Great question.
and we can put our resources to, and, because actually when I showed up, I almost thought, I wonder if that trailer's still there. I mean, how long do we have the trailer there? I mean, I just don't know.
Yeah, I think that'll be a discussion we have with the 5 of you. I think part of the reason why we're maybe not rushing is because of the CARES Act funding we've received, because of the Biden stimulus package. I mean, there's really no incentive. I don't want to say there's no incentive, but I am reluctant to, lay off our temporary staff or terminate our temporary staff because, especially when you talk to Dr. Bud, we don't know what's going to happen this winter. I mean, cases could very well go back up and we would be doing more testing, we would be doing more. And so it's a great question, Ian, but it's kind of a nuanced discussion because we're not paying for these costs with ad valorem tax dollars. I mean, I mean, we've got so much, I mean, that stimulus has just been so flush that, but yeah, I think that's a discussion we'll have with the board for sure.
We also don't know how long the shots are really supposed to last. Will we need boosters in 6 months? Will, that's all question in flux.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and I think Nick's gonna talk about this more. Casey briefly mentioned it, but we are in the process of pulling out of the Bottle House. As you know, we've been giving shots there, and we've gotten a great deal on using that facility. It's costing the county a little bit of nothing, really, but at this point, there's just no need to continue administering shots there. And so I'll have Nick talk a little bit more about the specific plan, but we think we'll be able to handle it from the trailer, so, thank you.
Yep.
Good morning. To talk quickly about the ramping things down, we're still one of the only sites testing in the county and honestly in the area. We've got people from Garnett that come up and get tested and stuff like that. So we have seen the state pretty much shut down testing. So we still see 6 to 7, sometimes up to 12 people a day come in. We do have 6 new cases this week. We have 14 positives for all of April. We have 12 current positives. So we're still seeing that hold steady, which is good. But as Dr. Ransom and I have talked quite a bit about, we've got prom. We've got a lot of activities that's going to bring a lot of groups together over the next few weeks. So we're watching that closely, working with the schools, making sure we got an idea what's going on. When it comes to vaccines, we have got through the opt-in list. As Casey said, that was a monster endeavor, and we were able to do it. As we did that, we've now got to where when people call in, we schedule. They've got a way to sign up online through a thing that Tom put in place. And we're working at a program called QLES where people can actually go online and sign up. It pops up, tells them a time that they can be here. It gives them a weight limit if we do have openings. So they can sign up and do that, which is going to hopefully eliminate a lot of the need for the opt-in list and that, because they'll be able to call in. We can put them on the schedule. They can do it themselves. That should go in place sometime in the middle of next week. As Casey and Derek have both talked about, we're going to stop doing initial doses at the Bottle House as of this week. On the 20th, we plan to start a drive-through at the trailer. We've got it set up where we can do 5 cars every 15 minutes, which will allow us to do about 60 to 70 a day in that area, which is about what we need to be pushing out. So
Hey, Nick,
we have
By
that.
appointment?
What's that?
Still by appointment?
It will be by appointment, but like I said, with that program we have, if there are openings, they will be able to see those openings are available, what the wait time is, put their name in and show up. So it'll allow a couple different options that we don't currently have. So we will need some kind of an appointment, but
I'm sorry to interrupt. I want to pause you for a second just to be clear. You mentioned we're stopping initial doses at the Bottle House, but we will still have second doses in the month of May. So we will be doing shots in there for, I think, through like May 12th, and then we will officially vacate out of there. I didn't want you to hear we're in there next month still and wonder what's going on. We'll finish up our second doses in there next month. We are just transitioning our initial doses away from
So you
there.
get your second dose where you got your first dose?
yes, we got to finish that out, and that'll be done on the 12th of May. So been a great venue to use. It's worked out well, but as you correctly said, Kramer's, Walgreens, Walmart, Auburn are all pushing doses out. We were anticipating having to do a lot of doses at American Eagle. We did 100 doses and called them and said we have 200 more, and they have corporate coming in and doing vaccines for them. Walmart's done a good job taking care of their staff out at the DC, so that's another one that we didn't have to do that we thought we were going to. So a lot of things have fallen in place with that. But we'll make that transition and be done with it at the Bottle House, and hopefully continue to see our partners be able to push the doses out, and we'll get what we can. One of the things we do have phone calls on that I think is good for us, at the beginning of this, we had the option of charging $30 per vaccine, and we waived doing that. Throughout this process, we've had a lot of people who are on fixed incomes that have said thank you many times for that. You know, I had a person at the Saturday clinic who heard that they had to pay $40 in Missouri to get it, and that person was in tears when we told them they didn't have to pay. So I don't want to move away from our concept of that, because there are a lot of people that are going to be hesitant to getting it if they have to pay that administration fee. So that's one of the things that I do thank the commission for allowing us to do, is not charge for that. As Casey also said, Johnson & Johnson is suspended until further notice. We do have 200 doses. We planned on pushing 100 and some of those out Friday. That clinic's been canceled. We are trying to direct those people to Moderna and continue pushing out the doses we have that way until those come back, but we did cancel one clinic for that. Other than that, that's all I really have on the vaccine. If there's no questions, I'll move on to the communications.
One quick one, I deliver Meals on Wheels, and one of my ladies is housebound, and I asked her if she'd had her shot, and she said no, and I said, you can get one. And so what would you do now that you're not doing Johnson & Johnson? Can you still do a housebound person?
We can work through it. We haven't had a lot of housebound people call. If they call, we can work through that. We're at a point that we can probably make it work with 2 doses.
She actually said, and how much is it gonna cost me? And I said, and she was like, so that's awesome, yeah.
But yeah, we've been able to work with a lot of people throughout this process if they call. So I encourage, if somebody needs a vaccine, to give us a call, and we'll see what we can do to make it happen. So.
What is the shelf life on the Moderna?
Once they've changed it, it was 6 hours from the time you puncture it. Now you have a vial that can last for 12 hours after it's punctured.
How
As long as
about, I
it's-
mean, shelf life before?
It depends on the lot we get. Some of it we get expires within 3 to 4 weeks, and some of it we have up to 2 months to give. So it just depends on how it comes in.
Will the Johnson & Johnson possibly expire before they decide you can use it or not?
Actually, I asked about that, and if we can get it out if something changes within the next month and a half, I think is where we're at. We can push that out, because I asked that question too to see how many we had, and I think we're within a month and a half of expiration on that.
And there's a good possibility that in 4 to 5 months, we'll be starting this all over again. With booster shots, you'll have everybody have to come back if they want, you know, so the whole process will start over again. Be much simpler because you already know who's got it so far, but then, you know, it's a whole new ball of wax, I can see.
Yeah, and that Nick and I just had that discussion last night, and that's why we were just talking about the staff in the health department and our temporary staff, and that's exactly why I am in no hurry to make any changes there, because, yeah, you may very well be right. We just were waiting for additional guidance on how soon are we going to have to do those boosters, so.
And the other thing we have is we have every one of those investigation cases that have to be put in EpiTrax. While we were in the heat of it, doing 100 to 120 a day, some of those haven't got put in. Then we went straight from the testing to the vaccines. So there's going to be a lot of cleanup work on the back end over the next few months, just making sure we have everybody in the system and all that has to be done that wasn't able to be done throughout that initial rush. So we've got a lot of things to do right now. On the communications center, as I talked about last week, this week is Telecommunicators Week. We have set up some things for the dispatchers to recognize them. We have seen a lot of the departments that we serve giving gifts or food to the dispatchers. So I just want to take a moment and remind the commissioners that this is Emergency Dispatch Week, and there's been some milestones that's been passed over the last couple of years, with the accreditation, and then this year, the dispatchers being designated as first responders. That's a huge step. One of the things when I got into the dispatch center, got on the 911 coordinating council, we've been working on is getting that delegation because of what they do. So that's a humongous step, and I think it's well-deserved.
Nick, would there be and I'm sorry to cut you off again, would there be a time, and I know we're cognizant of where we're at in the world with COVID, but would there be a time where if the board wanted to, could pop in and see the dispatchers just to tell them thank you? I know we recently had a fantastic longtime dispatcher who retired, and some of the feedback we got included that, they wish they could see the board a little bit more, see myself a little bit more. I know I am always reluctant given the nature of what they do. Like, you walk into a dispatch center and you don't know what's going on. But if there was ever an opportunity to facilitate an interaction, I think we're getting to the point where we could do that responsibly. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that is exactly right. If you guys are interested in seeing the dispatch center going in, one of the things that I ask if you do it is just kind of give us a notice that you're coming for the purposes of if they are busy, what's going on. But you're more than welcome to reach out to Sarah or I, and we'll make sure we get you guys in there and let you see the center and walk you through it with the things that have changed and continue to change in emergency communications. I think it would be well accepted of them to get the opportunity to talk to you guys. So, and the last I've had to discuss is EMS. Our ambulance left today to go on the remount, to go up for the remount, so we'll have it back in 3 months. And I'm happy to announce, and I'll knock on wood, for the first time since the pandemic, we're full staffed. And that's been, we've done quite a bit, making adjustments, looked at schedule, a lot of different things. And for the first time since the start of the pandemic, we can say that we're full staffed and have taken our announcements down. So that's a huge step. So, do you have any questions for me?
Just wanted to say a big thank you to a longtime employee that you had that retired. Last Friday, I guess, was his last day. Alan Durbin, who had been with EMS for how long?
We've been there since 2001. We started at the same time.
20 years.
So.
For 20 years, so, yeah.
Yeah, I wish him the best. He was a good guy. So, thank you.
Nick. Sheriff?
Good morning. I just want to kind of echo a little bit of what Nick said about Telecommunicators Week. We just want to express our appreciation to our dispatch center. They are an unseen person on every call that we go on, and they deal with a lot of stress in that job, and oftentimes are overlooked because they're not seen. They're just heard by a few people, and we appreciate the work that they do. It is vital to Franklin County, the service that they provide, so we do appreciate that. Also, I wanted to just say we are working on our, I think I've mentioned before, our employee wellness and anti-fragility program that we have at the Sheriff's Office. And we are currently working with Aaron Laurie at the Health Department to develop a short presentation, a class on the benefits of proper diet and exercise. And so that is something that we are working with her on, and we want to include the rest of the county employees on that as well. But that's it's good to have those resources in-house and to have that working relationships that we do to be able to get this out. Those are they're simple things that we know that we can do to provide a better service now and to have healthier, happier employees and to hopefully prolong careers. And so I just wanted to say thank you to her publicly for working with us on that as well. And along those lines, I am part of serve on the Board of Governors for the Small and Rural Law Enforcement Executives Association. And for part of what we do with our program that we have here with the wellness, I am appointed, I'm now the chair of the Officer Safety and Wellness Committee for our organization. So we just had a symposium, national symposium last week. It was all online. But there'll be more of those things coming, and I just bring that up just to say that Franklin County is, we're not a large county, but we are not overlooked on a national scale because of the services that we provide here are being recognized. So that's all I have, and if you guys have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer. Okay, thank you.
David?
Good morning, Commission. So this morning, we closed Hamilton Road between Texas and Utah. We've got a large crossroad tube that failed on us, and the specialty tube that we ordered came in, I think it was yesterday, and so we're getting that installed today. The road will be closed most of the day. It's quite a bit of work to get the old one pulled out and the new one placed in, but we feel like we'll be able to have that road reopened by the end of the day. Related to that, last week, we also lowered the crossroad tube on Marshall out by, I think it's Indiana Terrace, kind of in the curves down in the bottom area there, to help a little bit with drainage for the farmers there. Our work efforts over the next few weeks are going to be focused on getting the dust control areas prepped. We're anticipating that work to take a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, and Scott Wood will be here in about 3 or 4 weeks to put down the dust control. Kiddo Construction, I spoke with them yesterday. They are anticipating, if the weather holds out, starting the overlay projects on Monday. So hopefully that schedule remains true. And then Virginia Road, that project is set to bid next Wednesday. So I'll have I probably won't have information on that bid for the Wednesday meeting, but I'll definitely have the information shortly thereafter. Also, yesterday I met with a representative from the city of Princeton to talk about their road issues that they're having. That led to kind of a wide-ranging discussion, and they did invite me to the next council meeting, I think is May 3rd. So I'll probably attend that and try to answer any questions that they may have. And that's all I've got right at the moment. And also, on Monday's study session will be SES. They'll do their presentation on the landfill expansion. So I'll have that. They just sent me their PowerPoint presentation, and I will include that in your packet so that you'll be able to follow along. But they will also be on the screen there visiting with us.
Larry, did you have anything? No? Okay. Didn't mean to skip you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add, Derek was talking about the email that we got from the governor's office yesterday. My Clerks Association is already having conversations on that to make sure that we're all kind of working together and sharing information that we have. I'm going to be reaching out to a couple of the larger counties to see, they usually get information a little bit faster than we do. So I'll be reaching out to them personally to see if make sure there's not anything that we're not missing. Like Derek said, the email had information in it, but not a lot of information that we didn't already have. And there's still a lot of uncertainties. Just to reiterate, the state has asked me for all the contact information for the small cities, so that continues to be my understanding that the small cities will get their own money. So anyway, we're continue to work on the budget, and department heads are free to ask questions at any time of Derek and I during this time where we're trying to put everything together for you guys. And we have the calendar made, although it's somewhat flexible just because we're not really sure what Senate Bill 13 exactly looks like yet. So I'm actually going to be having my Clerks Association conference here in a few weeks, and we plan to have some in-depth study and conversation on that with some people from the state. So we make sure that we're preparing properly for each of us counties to make sure that we're getting everything done the way it's supposed to be, so.
And just, I think all of you know this, but just so the public understands, Senate Bill 13 is the truth and taxation bill that's going to fundamentally alter how we budget. And so, just for clarification.
One last thing, we did send out a very large mailer to all of our friends over in the Wellsville School District. So if anybody hears anything on that mailer, you can feel free to direct them back to my office. We sent that mailer out to roughly 400 and some people in Miami County, 300 and some in Douglas County, our 2 voters for Wellsville School District that are in Johnson County, and then any voter in Wellsville School District that doesn't reside in Franklin Township. So the only voters in Wellsville School District that did not get the mailer is if you live in Wellsville City or Franklin Township. And that is because we had to change all of their polling locations just due to logistics and all of that. So they did get an advance ballot application in the mail, and they also got a letter explaining what the situation is and that this was temporary. So if you guys hear any talk or questions about that, feel free to direct them back to us, but we are giving them options. There will be an early vote option, there will be a by mail option, and always in person, so.
Is there still a vote drop box in Wellsville?
We took the drop box out of Wellsville just because we don't have, ours sits at the courthouse, so we can kind of watch it all the time. But the conversation that I had with Wellsville, I just told them that I would not leave it out there all the time. And I don't think that we plan to put it back out there just because of logistics of picking up the box. We have to have a team go out there every single day and pick up the ballots out of the box.
They'll just probably mail them back then if they,
Yeah,
instead of
so
dropping
I
them
think they'll mail them back to us.
All right, commissioners' comments. Roy?
I made contact with Sherry Wright about the Veterans Memorial. She's going to get all the information about when it was planned and constructed. And when she gathers that up and gets it to me, then I'll have more to report back to the commission. Got a couple of ECAN meetings next week. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Diane?
The City of Ottawa had their study session on Monday, and one of the big things that they did was they actually made an offer to purchase, and it's the building beside CarStar that's right now being used by an auction company that they're gonna purchase for the city and basically for the Parks Department, but it's big enough, it'll also be used by the utility company and the PD. Great building, great location for them. They've been looking for a building for the Parks Department for over 20 years, so, talking about it. And so this just kind of came up, and it was just perfect for them. They're starting on their budget, and again, they're looking at the truth in taxation bill and how much that's going to affect what's going on there. Other than that, just a big shout out to our 911 operators. I do appreciate them. They do see me. I've been in there several times, and I plan on being there this week again because I do appreciate them, and any chance we have to honor them, I will do that. And that's it.
All right, Rob?
I have nothing to add, Cole.
Yeah, I'll go to Wellsville meeting tonight. I did attend the Lane and Rantoul, and almost, a lot of their things are almost identical. They're both working out their plans for the free landfill week. Very appreciative, both of them. They both are in the process of budgets. They both are dealing with Rural Water 6 problem they have right now. They're now, the magnesium is way high in the water. The we got a lot of brown water on that end of the county, and they've been working now for a week hard. And I know the cities, both those cities buy water, so they're trying to answer to their people, but yet they're just a, go-between. And so they've been working really hard on that. I don't know if it's something I've never seen in all the years I've been down there. But they claim it's a chemical reaction of the magnesium and the chloride together. They claim it's not, the testing and everything is not harmful, but,
Groundwater?
yeah, groundwater,
Where do they buy it from? Not,
Rural Water 6.
but Where does rural water 6 get there?
River,
Oh, from the river?
yeah.
No.
And one thing is nice to see on my trip down the lane, 2 brand-new homes going up. Those are always good things you want to see. One just south of Rantoul and one just in a little, if you guys know, we did the ones that are around, they did a housing project just north of Lane. And slow getting started, but just recently they built 2 new homes and they're putting in a new monitor home now. I see over a full basement right down there. So it's good to see that is finally starting to take hold down there. And that's about all I have.
I'm pleased the commission's decided to talk about what to do with Crestview, that facility. It's in my district. It's blight. It's by far the ugliest facility we have and one of the more probably buildings in poor condition in the town. So, and sadly, we own it. We're responsible for it. So I'm pleased that the board, after our facilities tour, decided to discuss what to do with that site. And, so look forward to Monday.
I forgot one little thing to tell the board. City of Lane was appreciative of Mr. Bean. I guess he's been helping them with some issues with economic development. So I just thought I'd bring it up. Paul is getting out to all the communities and providing that service.
Great. All right, anyone else before we look to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned.